Welcome back, J-Girl Beauty Fambam. How are you guys all doing today? I know I haven't been on YouTube and making videos in like a while. This year, 2020, has been a hectic year for me. My son was in the hospital about 3 times in and out. So yeah, my uncle ended up passing away. And then my other uncle ended up passing away this year. And then my husband's grandma had passed away like a year ago. And then my husband's grandpa passed away when my uncle passed away on the same day. And I believe at the same time. So this year, like I said, has been chaotic. I was going to start doing my YouTube videos and start doing my makeup videos with some story time about my life and what trouble I would get into and stuff. But my grandpa ended up getting sick. So my grandpa passed away on Valentine's Day, February 14th at 3:02 p.m. And I had been noticing a little bit of difference change in his eating and him sleeping a lot more. He wasn't really eating much. Like he would eat barely, and he wasn't eating 3 meals a day anymore, and he was just like eating a little bit and then he was done. And I just had a feeling for some reason. I told my husband, I'm like, something's wrong with my grandpa. I don't know if he's gonna last very long, I told him. And my husband was like, yeah. And grandpa's always saying, you know, he wasn't gonna be here very long. And so anyways, as time went by, 2 weeks before my grandpa had passed. So January 29th was on a Friday, but on Wednesday, which was January 27th, I believe, my grandpa was a little bit congested and he wasn't feeling good. I had given him a bath in I took his temperature after, and it was like 101, 102. He was like congested a little bit. He said he didn't feel very well and he was tired. So I ended up giving him some ibuprofen. I put Vicks on his stomach, his chest and his back. And the next day he woke up and he told me he was a little bit okay and he felt better. But he was still congested. And I was like, yeah, I know, Grandpa, but you still sound bad. Like, you know, if you're not well by tomorrow, I said, we're going to have to take you to the hospital. To the doctors. So Friday I woke up and he woke up and I woke up and he still was congested. He didn't really sound too good. He sounded a little bit better. Yeah. So I took him into urgent care. And they thought maybe it was COVID, but I was like, I don't think it's COVID because we don't really go very much places. And my grandpa doesn't go nowhere unless he has doctor's appointments or whatever. So then she said, well, maybe it's aspirated pneumonia and bronchitis, I would say, because he had this cough. And so then they took an x-ray and they didn't read us the x-rays that day because the doctor hadn't got to him or something. So then she told us to go ahead and go home and to pick up this medication. So we came home, and then later on that day, she called me back on Friday and she told me that the doctor had read the x-rays and that he had a little bit of fluid in his lungs, I believe she said, and that he might have congested heart failure. So to take him to the emergency room. So we took him back to the emergency room. And he was in there, and then a little bit while later, maybe 3 hours after he was there, they did an EKG, and the doctor told me that he had a heart attack 2 days ago, which was on Wednesday, but he didn't say nothing. I didn't know he had a heart attack. I guess he had it in his sleep, or I don't know. We just didn't know that he had a heart attack. So he had a heart attack on Wednesday, and the EKG said that he had it 2 days ago, which was on Wednesday. And since we weren't able to get him into the hospital in 2 hours after he had his heart attack, they couldn't put a stent in him. So half of his heart was dead, like it wasn't pumping right. And he had congested heart failure, and he had COPD. And he had had COPD for a while. And his kidneys were at stage 2. Stage 2, yeah. And then they had already went into stage 3. So the doctor told me to tell the family that he was gonna send my grandpa home on hospice. So sorry. Um they told me that I asked them like how long because he told me to tell the family, you know, what had happened to my grandpa. He said they didn't know how long my grandpa had to live. I told myself I wasn't gonna cry. I was gonna try to do this whole video without crying until the end, but I'm sorry. Started crying. So I asked him like, how long did my grandpa have to live? He said 2 weeks to maybe 6 months with CHF, but with a heart attack involved that they weren't positive and he wasn't God, so he didn't know when he would take his last breath here on earth. So he said, you know, 2 weeks to 6 months, maybe. I don't know. I can't tell you that. And so we brought him home on Monday. And everything was here from hospice. We had to take out his old bed and put the hospital bed and the table, and they brought him oxygen, and they brought him some oxygen. And when my grandpa had gotten home, he was like, oh my gosh, what happened to my room? And I told him, oh, well, the doctors said that you had to come home and you're gonna be on this new bed and the table and stuff. And I think my grandpa knew. So, you know, my grandpa knew. I think what was going on. My grandma was on hospice before she passed away too. So I think he didn't understand why he was in the hospital or what was going on, but he kept asking when he was gonna come home, and so they told him, and he was happy to be home. So when he got here and stuff, I explained to him what had happened to him and that he had gotten that he had had a heart attack, and that since we didn't know his heart wasn't, and we didn't get him in the hospital in 2 hours, that his heart wasn't pumping right. And I did tell my grandpa what was going to happen, and we don't know how long you have to live, I told him. And I asked my grandpa if he was scared of dying, and he told me no. He told me he was ready to go, and he had been ready to die a long time ago. He told me he wasn't scared to die and that he had wanted to die a long time ago, you know, and he was ready. He wanted to go home. You know, he wanted to die and go be with his wife. Prior to that, I don't know if it was a month, a couple of weeks before my grandpa had passed, but he told me now, and I said, what, grandpa? And he's all, are you gonna be there? And I go, what do you mean, am I gonna be there? Oh my god, this is so hard. I miss him so much. And so he goes, now, are you gonna, and I was like, what, grandpa? And he's like, are you gonna be there? And I go, what do you mean, am I gonna be where? And he's like, are you gonna be there when I die? And I'm like, of course, unless you're like in the hospital and I can't be there. But of course I'll be there. And then, like I said, 2 months, I mean, 2 weeks, maybe a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks, a month. I don't know when it was. And he asked me again. He's all, now. And I'm all, what, Grandpa? He's like, are you going to be there? And I was like, what do you mean be where, Grandpa? And he's all, are you going to be there with me when I die? And I'm like, of course. And so, like I said, he came home. He was doing good. Like, he was getting up. He was sitting down. He, like, had so much, like, life, and his personality was crazy. Like, I don't know. That man was a strong man. And, sorry. I'm going to try not to cry anymore. But anyways, he was, like, the strong guy. Like, he wanted to keep going. He wanted to keep going. He was so strong. Like, even medication didn't affect him like it should. Like, even when he broke his hip, he was still had life. He was still going, even though he was in pain. He never really complained about it, and he would just say it hurt, and he didn't like to take medication too much or anything. So when he had broke his hip, though, it really put him down a lot. Like, he was used to going outside, landscaping, cutting our trees, pulling weeds outside, doing yard work all the time. And that's what he was. That's what he did his whole life, you know, practically. And so he came back home, and it didn't seem like, I thought I would have my grandpa for like 6 months, really. And he came back home. He was eating. He wasn't eating too much, though. Like 2 meals a day, maybe. And not very much. Like, very little. Not too much. But he was getting up. He would come and talk to the people, all his family. He would sit up. He was laughing. He was smiling. His beautiful smile. And just enjoying life and everything. And so 2 weeks go by, and on Thursday, I don't know what happened, but my grandpa was, every time, like at the night, he would like roll over to his side, and he would hold on to his rail. And I don't know what happened, but I guess he tried to get up and go to the restroom that night or that morning, and he couldn't. So my dad had came down here, and he was on the floor. And so when we picked him up, he was already like dead weight. And I just knew he was going to go down from there. And sure enough, my grandpa had just ate maybe a Jello, and 2 Jellos actually that day. And the last one was the cherry Jello that he had last ate. He didn't really want too much water. So on Friday, when the hospice nurse came over, she told me that he was on the active stage of dying because he wasn't swallowing anymore, and you could hear his phlegm. And so my grandpa, Friday, he was still getting up. He was like, it seemed like my grandpa was still gonna be here for even longer. And then on Saturday, he was getting up, talking to us, like interacting with the people that were coming to visit him. He was just like, his personality was just so awesome. He used to tell me, be like me, mija. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's all, don't ever be mad. Don't ever be mad. I'm never mad. I'm always happy and smiling. Be like me. He said, don't be mad and angry all the time. He's all, just be like me. And he was so funny. And so on Sunday, I just knew that day that he was going. It was just weird. My mom and sister had left, and it just changed. Like, you could see the phlegm in his mouth just gurgling there, up and down, and his heart just, his breathing just started slowing down a little bit more. And he was still wanting to get up too. He would tell us, pick me up. And we're like, Grandpa, you can get up. But he wanted to be up. And well, actually, before all that, he had seen his mom, I guess. I guess you start to see people, your imagination, the nurse was saying. And he saw his mom, and he's all, mama, and he kissed his mom. And my grandpa didn't know his mom because she died when he was 5 years old or 11 years old, or she died at birth, something like that. So he never got to meet his mom. So when he seen his mom, that was the sweetest thing. I'll never forget that time where he was like, mama, mama, and he just kissed her. And I was like, just the sweetest thing ever. And so anyways, I seen a difference in his breathing. And all of a sudden, he just stopped breathing. And I took the oxygen off him. And then all of a sudden, he like started breathing again, and I put the oxygen back on, but I just knew he was going because it seemed like his pulse was going too. And then he just took his last couple of breaths, and my grandpa passed away. And oh my gosh, now I think it's been like a week since he's been gone, or 2 weeks now, and I miss him so much. Like, I woke up to getting him dressed, to seeing him all day, to hearing him, to hearing his noise, to seeing his smile, to putting him to sleep. And now he's not here. And I'm just like, I'm so heartbroken. And people say I gotta let go. But I did. I've let go. And I understand that it was his time and he lived a long life. But that doesn't help the hole that I have in my heart. It hurts so bad. The other day, I just wanted to crawl in a ball and sleep all day and not do nothing and just be depressed, but I can't. I have to push myself to keep going, but it's really hard. My grandpa lived with us for 8 years, and we sacrificed our lives for him, and I just wish he was still here. But anyways, it was his time to go, and God took him, and now he's gone. But he'll never be forgotten. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this video and go ahead and show you pictures of him and the family. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the prayers and the thoughts that everybody's have been sending me and stuff. And hopefully soon I'll be back and at it again. So thank you so much, and everybody that enjoyed watching him and everything, and would tell me to tell him hi and everything, and he would get all happy when I would tell him I was recording him. I'm like, you're in the movies, you're a movie star. And he would get all happy and he would smile so big. How cute. But anyways, my phone's about to die, so
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly. And I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone. find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now. To where we started out. Get me out of now.
Can you move it or no? Can you move it or no? Huh? Can you move your leg or no?
No puede.
Well, let me carry you inside. And I'll catch you guys all on the next one. Never forget, te amo muchísimo.